So it looks like Luffy and the gang are going to take this prototype puffing Tom, I guess you would call it, called Rocketman, to get to Enies Lobby.
One piece of chopper 365. Rocketman. It's a Rocketman.
Things are really starting to heat up now. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and Enies Lobby fairy tale of One Piece. Our last chapter saw us with Luffy and company kind of finally getting back together. Finally, Luffy and Zoro and Nami and Chopper are all together along with Paulie. And Kokoro, after Luffy, pretty much said, hey, listen, you don't want to give us a ship, we're going to steal one. Kokoro said, hold up, I got something for you, right? And that's how it ended off. Something about a sea train or some kind of ship or what have you. So that's how things left off. Things wind up picking up actually back on the sea train that has, of course, Robin, Sanji, Nami, Usopp, Franky, Robin, and Sanji. Apologize, I just roll those names out there and sometimes I miss one. I was thinking of Nami for some reason. So Robin, Boobs, Nami, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, guilt by association, I guess. So the sea train takes us to the sea train that they're on, obviously, on the way there. And we first, we wind up seeing a bit of this Spandam. And actually, somebody had mentioned that he was kind of modeled after Mankind, Mick Foley from the WWF, which is cool because I used to watch WWF back when Mankind and then Mick Foley, of course, being the same character, same person playing these different characters. Was on there. So that's actually kind of cool, and that reminds me of that. I still hate the character, Spandam, but I can definitely see it now with the mask. So he's talking about how, it's great that Admiral Aokiji over there wound up giving him the go-ahead on that Buster call, and I mean, they've got everything all wrapped up, he thinks, with Robin on her way there, as well as, of course, Franky Cuddy Flam on his way there, and hopefully being able to get his hands on the blueprints. He thinks this is going to be his shining moment after all these years, right, to really kind of shine and tell everybody how good he is. And then on the sea train, we see that Sanji has completely incapacitated everybody from car 7, with that back car where that big guy Jerry was, and they all look like a bunch of lightweights anyway. But he winds up getting to the next car and taking out a bunch of people, and or it looks like it's the next car, the communications car, because he finds some transponder snails. But he also happens upon Franky and Usopp, and Usopp's like, "Whoa, what the hell are you doing here?" And he's just like, "Yeah, I could ask you the same thing." So after some brief introductions and Sanji pretty much, going head to head with Franky of like, he doesn't like him because he knows what he did to Usopp, and then Usopp's like, no, you don't understand. That's all in the past now. We've moved past that. We've moved past it, and now this and that. He tried to help me save the Going Merry and everything else. So he's kind of filling Sanji in on some of those, some of the things that have transpired. At the end of this little, we presume that he's going to contact Nami like he said he was going to in his note, now that he's gotten some of the snail transponders, the Den Mushis, I think they're called. And he finds some of them in there, and then, of course, we're assuming he's going to free Usopp and Franky, even though he tells Franky he's not going to take the ropes off him, but just kind of part of their clashing type deal. But then we go and we see this knight, this Captain T-Bone. And he actually looks pretty cool. They kind of just show him from the back or whatever, but he's in the next car up, and it appears as if maybe either he's come up to like go and check on the cars behind them, or somebody has alerted them to it. I really couldn't tell which, but we know that we're gonna have to fight this Captain T-Bone, and of course this progressively more difficult, cars of individuals on the way up to the front. So, to actually get to Robin. So, and I don't know how much that's gonna happen before they actually arrive at Enies Lobby. Anyway, don't know how long of a ride it is, but the bulk of the chapter though for me takes place. We wind up getting Kokoro goes and we pick up where we left off in the last chapter, about halfway through this one, and Kokoro takes them to this hidden warehouse that's been abandoned for 8 years and this and that. And then she's like, oh, wait, the lock's already busted open on it, She goes in and they show this train, and it's in the shape of, it looks like a shark, a shark's head, and they call it Rocketman, right? And apparently this train is, we wind up finding out, first of all, we find out the lock's broken because Iceberg's there. Iceberg figured that they'd have the same idea, and he came there to go and fuel it up, get everything going. There's coal in it. It's all stocked and ready to go. Kokoro's crazy ass is actually going to go and take him on it. The thing about this one is that I think this was more like the, before they actually came up with Puffing Tom, I think this was probably like the prototype that they came up with, and they never quite worked out the actual speed differential of it. So this thing gets going, and it's literally just like a runaway train, right? Runaway freight train. So it's basically like, I can't guarantee you'll even make it there alive, but hey, you're welcome to it. This is the only way to go. And then as they go in there, and then as they come flying out of this warehouse, they're hopefully going to land on the tracks and connect and whatnot. So there's a lot of ifs and maybes and I don't knows in here, you know. But we wind up also seeing that Paulie is stowed away on board, and that's good because I like Paulie. I like the character. I even asked in the last chapter if you thought that he'd be a good character to maybe, kind of team up with them, albeit temporarily or whatever, to kind of help them along. And it appears, at least as of right now, that he's going to do that because he's hidden on the actual train and he's kind of peeks out from underneath one of the tarps, you know. Then we go and we get Nami goes and shows up because Luffy is pretty weak, right? He's lost a lot of blood. He just needs some meat. And Nami winds up coming in with a bunch of like food and drink and what have you, you know. And I'm assuming probably from everything that was gathered up from when she had the search parties out, and then she had people out going to every shop that they could to get meat and wine, so they could hopefully find Luffy and Zoro, kind of lure them out with the smell of meat and wine. But she has this big old bag of food, and of course, you know, Luffy's excited about that. But what I thought was kind of cool was that right towards the end of the chapter, as they're about getting ready to leave, all of a sudden, in comes the Franky family. They bust in the door over there, you know, and Zoro's like, oh God, we gotta deal with these guys now, what the hell, you know? And they're like, hey, please, would you take us with you to Enies Lobby? Please, we just need a way to get there, you know? And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? You're our enemies. You went and, I mean, obviously you think about it, you know, it's like you robbed us, you went and you beat the shit out of our guy, and yes, we came as revenge after you beat him up a second time and had taken all our money and we beat the shit out of you, but... You know, the Franky family hasn't exactly been held in the highest regard, at least to the Straw Hats up until this point, or by me. I'm not a big fan of them. But I like that they actually were like, hey, listen, we don't care what the deal is. We know what Enies Lobby is. We don't care what we're going into, danger, certain death, what have you. Our bro is there. We're going to go rescue our bro. So whatever allegiance or alliance they have with Franky, you know, they're loyal. They're loyal, and that's something that you definitely like to see, and you have to applaud, even if you don't particularly like the characters themselves. So anyway, so they're going to wind up hooking up their bulls or whatever, those Yagara things they have, to the back of it and pretty much just catch a ride. They're like, it isn't like we got to hang out and cohabitat, you know. But anyway, Luffy winds up going, he's like, you know what, sure, whatever, get aboard. And in my opinion, hey, the more the merrier. You're going to go and storm Enies Lobby, which is like this base or what, you know, it's not a good place to be. It's like storming the headquarters of the enemy, you know. And you know you've got you've got some pretty formidable allies in Paulie. You've obviously got, you know, Zoro and Luffy. They can certainly do some damage. Nami and Chopper, under the right circumstances, can obviously be very helpful with things. And then you're hoping to meet up with the rest of your crew and be able to free Robin. You know, the Sanji being on the train. Hopefully Franky and Usopp, even though they're a little bit beat up, maybe they can, you know, get. So you're amassing a pretty decent team. But at the end of the day, you got to have some numbers to throw at the enemy. So for me, hey, you know what? You guys want to come with, the more the merrier. As long as you don't try to double cross us, man. You know, we're cool with that. So I definitely like that. I thought it was pretty cool. So they're going to go and take off over here. And the end of it, just, you know, Luffy's just got this big shit-eating grin on his face whenever they're going somewhere. Like it's just a fun adventure, right? He doesn't matter to him. He's just like, all right, we're off. You know, here we go. We're going to take everything back. And you just see this badass-looking shark, you know, sea train, the Rocketman it's called, actually going and heading off and hopefully taking them towards Enies Lobby. So, very cool chapter, I thought. And my chapter question for you, brothers and sisters, is really, you know, what are your thoughts on the Franky family? I know that many people just kind of blasted me for not liking them initially, and I'm still not a huge fan of them either way. But what are your thoughts on the Franky family and just kind of showing up there and being like, after they had been beat up too and gotten their asses whipped by CP9? Keep in mind that, you know, the beating from the Straw Hats isn't the only one they've taken. Just recently, within the last couple of hours, they took a probably, you know, near-death beating from CP9, and but they know that Franky's been captured, and what do you think of, obviously, of that loyalty and them saying, hey, you know what, even though we may die, we want to get our bro back? Let me know what your answer to that question is in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
You remember to follow me on my other channel and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram too.